Claire Hart had always been sensible. A school teacher, a daughter, the kind of woman who clipped coupons and watered her plants on Tuesdays. But after the accident, slipping on spilled oil in the kitchen, skull cracking against the tile like a dropped melon, she woke up 3 days later in the hospital, stitches zigzagging across her scalp, and something else had come back with her. It lived in the hollow between her thoughts, a black hiss at the edge of her hearing. At first, it was quiet, almost kind. You're stronger now. You're mine now. She tried to shake it off. Doctors said the headaches were from swelling. They didn't see her nails tearing at her arms at night, carving crescents deep into skin until blood patterned the sheets. They didn't feel her jaw clench hard enough to chip enamel. When she refused it too long, the thing seized her body. Her hand plunged into boiling water while she washed dishes. Her throat filled with bile as she gagged for hours. It left her retching, screaming, begging. "Do you want silence?" it asked one night, while she lay shivering on the bathroom floor. "Yes," she whimpered, "then feed me." The drifter at the gas station had greasy hair, eyes yellow with drink. Perfect. She followed him down a dirt road, knife heavy in her sweating fist. When she struck, it was clumsy, too high on his neck. The blade grated against cartilage with a squeal, lodging halfway in. He dropped to his knees, clawing at her arms, gurgling through the hole, spurting crimson. Claire panicked, sawing back and forth, desperate to finish. His scream collapsed into a wet whistle as his windpipe came free, torn ragged. His blood sprayed her chest in hot bursts. When he crumpled, she stood gasping, her ears ringing. The voice sighed with satisfaction. Better. Feel how warm it is? Again her neighbor, Mrs. Langley. Casseroles on Sundays. Polite smiles. Claire lured her inside with tea. The entity wanted ritual. She tied the woman down with extension cords, ignoring the shrieks. She gagged her, then began with the fingers, snapping each at the knuckle before slicing them away with scissors. The sound was delicate, like cracking twigs. The old woman sobbed and thrashed, cords burning grooves into her flesh. Claire hummed softly as she peeled strips of skin from her forearms with a paring knife. The fat underneath gleamed slick and white, trembling. When she split open the chest, ribs cracking one by one, she dug her hands into the cavity, rooting for the heart. The organ beat frantically against her palm. She cut it loose, holding it dripping aloft. The voice screamed praise inside her skull. Yes, this is worship, a jogger, in the park, headphones in, never saw her coming. Claire dragged him into the brush, bludgeoning with a rock until teeth scattered like dice across the dirt. His skull split at the temple, brain pulsing through the fracture. She carved open his stomach, spilling loops of intestine that steamed in the morning chill. The smell, feces and blood, made her gag, but the voice howled with joy. She wound his entrails around her arm like jewelry, smiling through tears. For a moment, she thought she could hear the man's voice among the entity's laughter, faint, begging for mercy. She pressed her ear to his chest and felt only silence. By now, Claire didn't need urging. She craved it. She cornered a young man in the library's basement, trapping him with the door chain. She slit his calves first, so he crawled instead of ran. Then she stabbed both palms, nailing him to the concrete floor with screwdrivers. His screams echoed off the stacks. She took her time, peeled his eyelids back, snipped them away, dug her thumbs into the sockets until they burst wetly, vitreous humor dribbling down her wrists. He shrieked until his voice shredded. Finally, she opened his throat with surgical precision, and his life fountained across the shelves of books. Paper drank the blood like blotting cloth. She licked her lips. The voice purred. Her reflection was no longer her own. Sunken eyes, lips cracked, permanently red, cheeks hollow, hair greasy. Sometimes, when she stood over a corpse cooling at her feet, she felt the real Claire screaming behind glass, pounding to be let out. The entity only laughed. Next was Anne, her sister. Sweet, innocent Anne, who came knocking in the rain, worried, asking too many questions. Claire wept, begged, pleaded with the voice. Not her. But Anne's tea was already drugged. Claire's hands were already steadying the hammer. The first blow cracked the skull with a dull crunch. Blood pooled into Anne's hairline, thick and glistening. The second caved the bone inward, fragments sinking into soft tissue. A flap of scalp peeled loose. Claire sobbed as she swung, each strike reducing the face to pulp. Teeth cracking, eye bursting, bone splintering. By the 10th, her tears had turned laughter. She sat rocking in the dark, her sister's ruin cooling at her feet. More.